up on Talking Points, the Obama administration takes the heat for a poor rollout of the new healthcare website.
And NSA spying sparks an angry reaction from a few strong European allies.
And results are in from two major gubernatorial races, but what do they mean?
We'll have the breakdown. Talking Points starts right now. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Talking Points. I'm Nick Cardona.
And I'm Anna Giles. Obamacare continues to face digital glitches that have left politicians and citizens on both sides of the aisle extremely frustrated. That's our first talking point. And we're roughly a month into the troublesome rollout of the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare, and problems keep surfacing. But the Obama administration is sticking to its guns. On Wednesday, President Obama traveled to Dallas, Texas, the heart of Republican territory, to promote his embattled health care law, seeking to ensure supporters that its problems are only temporary. Obama addressed his frustration with the website glitches, long wait times, and flawed info processing by insurance companies, claiming these problems should be fixed by the end of November. The visit wasn't all pleasantries. Governor of Texas, Rick Perry, a hardline conservative, called Mr. Obama's trip to Texas a, quote, desperate attempt to savage his ill-conceived and unpopular program. Joining me now is Talking Points lead correspondent Carolyn Blackburn. Carolyn, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Carolyn, why is a situation like this where the website of a lead part of Obama's agenda, why is it embarrassing for him?
I mean, I think it's really embarrassing because both of his campaigns, he's really run on this idea that Obamacare is going to work, it's going to be implemented, and the Americans can really be sure that it's going to happen. And so I think the fact that it's having so many glitches and the fact that some people are losing their health insurance, their private health insurance, is really hurting him because he didn't know that this was going to happen. And he should know all of these nuances in his own bill that has been backing his campaign.
Thanks, Carolyn. We're moving on now to Nick, who's going to have a discussion on NSA surveillance.
Moving to our second talking point tonight, recent elections in Virginia and New Jersey have come to a close, one with an unexpected winner. In New Jersey, Republican Chris Christie defeated Democrat Barbara Buono by an historic margin, garnering 60.4% of the vote, the first Republican to get over 60% in a New Jersey governor's election since 1985. Voters pointed to Christie's leadership through Superstorm Sandy as a major reason for re-election. Moving on to Virginia, Democrat Terry McAuliffe narrowly defeated Tea Party Republican Ken Cuccinelli 47.5% to 45%. Exit polls said that the top issues in the state were the economy, abortion, and health care, and the struggling rollout of Obamacare may have contributed to McAuliffe's narrow victory margin. Okay, Anna, quite a race, wasn't it? So does this have 2016 implications?
It has very big 2016 implications, Nick. First off, we saw a huge divide in the Republican Party between candidates in Cuccinelli and Chris Christie. And just focusing on Chris Christie, that was a huge win for him, right? He won votes from Democrats, not only Republicans, but Democrats as well. It shows how vast his appeal it is and may be indicative of, a successful race in 2016.
Now, with the Virginia's governor race, it was closer than a lot of people thought it would be. I mean, the Tea Party's surge of Ken Cuccinelli kind of took a lot of people by surprise. Does this have any implication about maybe the failure of Obamacare and anything like that?
Obamacare was a huge factor in the election in Virginia. And because of its poor rollout, its problems, it allowed Cuccinelli to catch up to McAuliffe very quickly.
All right.
And moving on now, we're going to go in focus on Obamacare.
Denying it. Right now, the website is too slow. Too many people have gotten stuck. And I am not happy about it. And neither are a lot of Americans who need health care. And they're trying to figure out how they can sign up as quickly as possible. So there's no excuse for it. And I take full responsibility for making sure it gets fixed ASAP.
And Nick, as I mentioned to Carolyn, it seems like in Obamacare, problems just keep arising. Promises, as Obama said, if you like your health plan, you can keep it. That turned out not to be true. Is he backtracking here?
He is. I mean, he's going to have to. I mean, this is a hot topic of a debate between what's right in Obamacare and what's been failing. I mean, people need to be held responsible for this, and he obviously he took the blame. It adds to the list of a lot of people that have come out apologizing for the failure of the site. So I mean, I think it's interesting. He is backtracking, and it's going to have implications for Democrats, especially coming up in the elections.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that with all these problems coming up, does it indicate a broader failure, or what's your take on that? Is it just a website problem, or is it a bigger problem?
I think when you look at the from a broader perspective, I think it is just a website problem. I mean, a lot of websites have glitches, but I mean, if you want to look at it more in depth, it's going to it kind of has an impact on Democrats and what their plans for universal health care. I mean, if problems like this happen in other sites and other businesses, they have to fix them ASAP. And obviously, the Obamacare health rollout has not had that impact. I mean, Sebelius needs to work with her department to get this fixed really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. We'll revisit this issue back in our roundtable as well.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, coming up next, our correspondent Carolyn Blackburn has more on the political battle surrounding Obamacare.
Stay with us.
I wanna go crazy, you can go crazy too. I wanna go crazy with you. Everybody say whoa.
I'm Russell Oliver.
I'm Maddie Olaskevich.
I'm Irfan Urazi.
And I'm Alex Resnick.
And this is Citrus TV
News.
Yeah, it felt good on my lips.
We are one tonight, and we're breathing in the same air. So turn up the love. Turn up
I'm Amanda Harry. I'm Rachel Walsky.
I'm Chris Wilner.
And I'm Anna Giles.
And this is Citrus TV.
the love. We're turning up the love.
I am as frustrated and angry as anyone with the flawed launch of healthcare.gov. So let me say directly to these Americans, you deserve better. I apologize. I'm accountable to you for fixing these problems, and I'm committed to earning your confidence back by fixing the site.
Welcome back. Our discussion on what's next for Obamacare continues.
Talking Points correspondent Carolyn Blackburn sat down with a Maxwell political science professor who says the fight against Obamacare is not over.
In order to gain some insight on the recent government shutdown, I spoke with Professor Farrisee, a professor of political science.
Would you say, even though the government shutdown is over, that the fight over Obamacare is not? Why or why not?
No, the fight is not over. This is a long-range battle, and the parties will be at each other in trying to, for the Democrats, successfully implement Obamacare and kind of prove to people that government can work. And for Republicans, trying to stop Obamacare after many unsuccessful attempts at the legislative level at the very last stop, which is the implementation phase.
What role did partisanship play in the government shutdown?
It had some role, and the shutdown would have been shorter if partisanship would have had a greater role. It was hard for Boehner and Cantor to convince 50 to 60 members who are facing committees that want to shut down the government because of Obamacare to not do that because it played so well at home. So if there would have been stronger partisanship and Boehner and Cantor would have been able to convince people that what's best for the whole party is best for themselves, there might not have been a shutdown, or it would have been shorter.
What would you say are the gains that Republicans got after the shutdown?
Well, immediately, not much. There were several polls taken by different polling institutions during and after the shutdown, and all of them, regardless of where they came from, showed the same trend, which is that support among independents, support among likely voters for the Republican Party took a hit during the government shutdown. Although a majority of the American public blamed them during the shutdown and afterwards, what we know from political science research is that American voters as a whole tend to have a very short-term memory. And by the time they walk into the voting booth in November 2014, this will be a distant memory and it won't be calculated into their vote.
Thank you, Carolyn. Amazing reporting. It was an interesting story, to say the least.
Thank you.
Right, so your interviewee talked a lot about the shutdown, which seems a distant memory, now with all the focus on Obamacare. Do you see the fallout from both Obamacare and the shutdown being an issue in the midterm elections in 2014 and even the presidential elections in 2016?
Well, when I was talking to Professor Farrisee, he pretty much emphasized that voters have a very short time span when they remember these kinds of things. So I don't think it's going to impact very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Carolyn.
All right, moving now to our third talking point tonight. Edward Snowden may be on the lam from the U.S., but his work is still causing problems stateside. The National Security Administration is now under fire after one of Snowden's reports revealed that the agency monitored the calls of 35 world leaders and European citizens. The revelation is causing quite a stir among U.S. allies in Spain and Germany. Obama has responded by denying he knew of the extent of NSA spying, but German magazine Der Spiegel claims President Obama was aware of spying efforts made on German Chancellor Angela Merkel. The NSA Chief Army General Keith Alexander, appearing before Congress, vehemently denied the allegations that the U.S. was spying on European citizens. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Mike Rogers, argues foreign intelligence gathering is a common tactic that helps keep the world safe. Joining me now in studio, Citrus TV's political analyst John Tomino. John, welcome to you.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for having me.
So I think the first thing I want to talk about is spying on world leaders. Is this a common thing that happens in our country, or is this a new thing?
Absolutely. This is, we've all seen the movies and such about international espionage, but when it comes down to it, the U.S. wants to gather info about other nations' actions because they want to inform their own actions in the global community. So it's more or less the method that they did it. Other nations are, have admitted that they have spying programs, like Brazil admitted, but it's the scope of the NSA program. And I think the intended, or the inferred length of time that it was lasting that really got people under people's nerves.
So is this an Obama administration thing, or was this more developed in the Bush administration?
I don't think it's as much it's just a presidential administration thing where spying becomes a part of what is going on. And it doesn't seem like President Obama had direct knowledge of the extent of the operations. He understood that there was intelligence gathering, but he didn't realize how much it was. When he was notified this summer, it seems like he tried to scale back the efforts. Reuters did report that the president heard about national security spying at the UN and ordered them to curb back. So he's been curbing it back since he heard about it.
All right, John Tomino, thank you. You're going to be joining us later on for our roundtable discussion. So
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
The website is the most visible problem with Obamacare right now, but it's not just the traffic. The data being transmitted may be incorrect or even worse, insecure. But the problems do run much deeper than just the website.
Well, after 3.5 hours of GOP grilling, Secretary of Health and Human Services Kathleen Sebelius still has a job. Now, that's not surprising. However, after her hearing, Sebelius was added to the list of high-profile administration officials to apologize for the troubled rollout of the healthcare website. The second in front of a congressional committee. The hearing included questions from 51 representatives, ranging from why the website was not functioning to who should be responsible for the problems. Here are the 5 things we noticed at the hearing. Sebelius says she is the one to blame for shifting the responsibility to the Department of Health and Human Services and away from the president. She outlined the cost of the website, which adds up to nearly $200 million, including $56 million to repair it. Sebelius was unaware of how many people enrolled in the system, answering questions with the same response. Quote, "We do not have any reliable data at this time." She says the website never crashed. It was just extremely slow, where future enrollees couldn't set up an account. And finally, Sebelius herself will not enroll in Obamacare, despite many members of Congress relinquishing their government-sponsored health coverage to take part in the new system. Now, what does this all mean? Sebelius still has a job. Obamacare is in full swing, and according to the White House, the system should be fully running by the end of November. So what do we do now? We wait.
There's no question that these revelations have caused some tensions in our relationships, but I think the fundamental fact that the American people need to know is, the National Security Agency is focused on foreign intelligence targets, those individuals and groups out there in the world who have as their primary focus doing harm to the American people, doing harm to our allies, and they do a great job every day.
Now, it's been a tough few weeks for the White House. The Obama administration may have made it through the government shutdown with little blame, but it's now under double fire for the poor rollout of the Obamacare website and NSA spying. The White House faces a major public relations problem that it hopes to turn around before the 2014 midterm elections. According to the latest NBC Wall Street Journal poll, President Obama's approval rating has declined to an all-time low as public frustration with Washington continues to grow. Just 42% approve of the president's job performance, a number that is down 5 points from just earlier this month. The White House is focused this week on patching up relations. The president visited Dallas on Wednesday to promote his health care law after visiting Boston 2 weeks ago. German officials are also meeting with their U.S. counterparts to discuss surveillance. Apologies on Capitol Hill are flowing. So far, Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, head of Medicaid and Medicare Marilyn Tavenner, Vice President Joe Biden, and even the president himself have decided to take the blame for a bad Obamacare rollout, with Sebelius promising the site will work by the end of November. Although recent revelations have Democrats in cleanup mode, approval ratings of the Republican members of Congress are not looking too good either. And according to an NBC Wall Street Journal poll, only 22% of the country feels our nation is headed in the right direction. President Barack Obama recently introduced his new FBI director, James Comey, who now takes over for Robert Mueller, who stepped down last month after heading the department for 12 years. While the president made sure to emphasize Comey's extensive record during the introduction in light of the NSA spying allegations, he also made sure to emphasize the new director's morals as a reason for this election.
And Comey has provided some insight into the direction he plans to take the department under his leadership. He emphasized a need for the Bureau to never abuse its power and noted that oversight is key in keeping the agency in check. Comey first drew national attention when he and then Attorney General John Ashcroft refused to sign off on a surveillance program during the Bush administration because they thought it was illegal.
And this can be seen as a step in the right direction for those who believe the NSA overstepped its bounds and may help quell some of the concern that has surfaced in the past few months over surveillance during the Obama administration.
And coming up next, we're talking Obamacare kinks and perks, gubernatorial elections, and NSA spying with our roundtable panel of experts.
John Tomino and Carolyn Blackburn join us live in studio with their take on the top stories of the week. Stay tuned. You're watching Talking Points only on Citrus TV.
We are one tonight, and we're breathing in the same air. So turn up the love.
I'm Amanda Harry. I'm Rachel Wallspeed.
I'm Chris Wilmer.
And I'm Anna Giles.
And this is Citrus TV.
We're turning up the love.
I wanna go crazy. You can go crazy too. I wanna go crazy. Wanna go crazy with you. Everybody say whoa.
I'm Russell Oliver.
I'm Maddie Olaskevich.
I'm Irfan Urazi.
And I'm Alex Resnick.
And this is Citrus TV
News.
Yeah, it felt good on my lips.
The biggest thing I've learned over the last 4 years about leadership is that leadership is much less about talking than it is about listening, about bringing people around the table, listening to each other, showing them respect, doing what needed to be done to be able to bring people together and to achieve what we needed to achieve to move our state forward. Now listen, I know that if we can do this in Trenton, New Jersey, maybe the folks in Washington, D.C. should tune in their TVs right now, see how it's done.
Joining us now, Citrus TV's political analyst John Tomino and Talking Points correspondent Carolyn Blackburn. Guys, welcome.
Good to be here again.
So, blowout election from Chris Christie. He won by such a huge margin from support on both sides of the aisle. And I want to direct this first question to you, John. What makes him such a personable, likable, electorate?
Anna, this guy just gets New Jersey. It's that simple. He gets the exact people that he's serving. He embodies the state so well. He eats, lives, and breathes it. He's an amazingly charismatic speaker. I've seen him at public events over the summer, and he's just so, his speeches are great, and he's really just able to just tap into what New Jerseyans care about and inspire them.
He had the same type of speech at the 2012 convention, the Republican convention, and that was just an unbelievable speech by him. So he's a very charismatic guy.
Right. And Carolyn, how much do you think his response to the Hurricane Sandy relief efforts, how much did that contribute to his such exponential win?
I think that had a lot to do with it personally because he worked together with President Obama, and he actually received a lot of backlash from a lot of Republicans saying, why did you work together with the president? But Christie's standpoint is that I'm going to work with whoever can help me because I want to help New Jersey. And I think that's another thing. Being from New Jersey, John and I, we understand that he comes off to New Jerseyans as a very New Jersey kind of guy.
And through that, bipartisanship, working with the president, he kind of divided himself from Cuccinelli a little bit. In what way? Nick, what's your opinion on that? How did he divide himself?
I mean, Cuccinelli is he's a Tea Partier. I mean, this guy is, there's no question about it. He's one of those, really hardcore conservative Republicans. And Christie kind of moved away from those. He's been talking about how he's much different from those Tea Partiers. So I think it's interesting to see the difference in margin. Obviously, Christie won by 30-some-odd%, and Cuccinelli lost by 2%.
And what this means for the midterm elections, too, it kind of shows this whole Tea Party aversion. It's kind of their charm is wearing off on some of the people, whereas Christie, he's a little more moderate, even on social issues like gay marriage. While he wasn't a proponent of it, the state now has passed it. That's what you have to look at. It's legal in his state. So he's got a couple of checklists off before going into 2016 if he wants to go that route towards presidential candidacy.
Right, and that was my last question for you guys on this topic was 2016. What are Christie's chances? Is he a good candidate?
He's got a solid shot. He's got an absolute solid shot for the presidency, especially if he continues to bring the state back and and bring the shore back and all that kind of stuff. If he's able to really carry out what he started off with, he's sailing towards that nomination.
He's going to have to appeal to the conservative base of his party because that is a big part of getting the Republican nomination. So he's going to have to step up his game in that sense.
Right. And while Christie has very broad appeal, as we've discussed, Obama doesn't with his health care plan and rolling out. Revelations have been coming up as recent as, now there's 12 Obama's main promise was that if you like your health plan, you can keep it. That was one of his core promises, and now we're finding out that roughly 12 million Americans cannot, in fact, keep their health plan. What kind of effect, how does this portray the president? What image does this leave him in?
Not a good one, that's for sure. I mean, it's just, he's coming across as, very, his plan was weak at the beginning, and it's gonna affect Democrats' chances in the next election, the 2014 election. So, it's gonna be interesting to see how he can bounce back from this.
Right. This past Wednesday, there was actually a meeting that some Senate Democrats had with him, and they expressed their concerns for 2014 and how this might affect them. And I know in the interview you had, Carolyn, maybe this might wear off. Do you guys think if Obama, obviously the bad effects we've had Obamacare now, are they going to wear off by 2014?
I mean, if you're referring to the website's problems, I think, because Kathleen Sebelius keeps pointing to the fact that registration is open until March. So if they fix these problems now, they anticipate people are going to be signing up for this. So I think by the time it comes around, this is going to have all washed away. There's no way the website's going to have problems up until that point in 2014 where midterm elections are.
And I think if Obamacare gets to the point where it's similar to Social Security in our government, I think that people are going to be very much for the Democratic Party because it's going to be such a huge part of our government and what it's giving to us.
Right. We saw a whole, something I wanted to mention too was a whole round of apologies. Not this past week, but the week before in congressional hearings, we saw Sebelius, Biden, Obama himself, and I can't help but think of how embarrassing this is for them, especially because of how much of a staple this legislation was for Obama. But another thing I wanted to mention too is that kind of a grassroots movement that we're seeing in the House of Representatives is Boehner has sponsored a bill called the Keep Your Health Plan Act. And it's something to help these 12 million Americans that have lost their health insurance. I mean, what's your guys' initial reaction to this? Is it kind of an in-your-face, in spite of you thing?
Boehner is capitalizing on a political move. I mean, this is a political political topic, and he's capitalizing on it. I think it's going to be interesting if that bill has any traction. I mean, obviously, I think it's just a in-your-face Obama. I think that's what Boehner's trying to do.
One thing to keep in mind, though, is that it isn't necessarily all President Obama's direct fault. I think what the issue was that he failed to kind of negotiate with the insurance industry and say, if you guys change the plans, people are going to lose coverage. And I don't think that he was watching up on the industry while they made changes to their plans, which resulted in these plans being canceled. So it was just poor communication. It seems like all around in this entire event. It just comes back to that in the end.
A big criticism of Obama is that this wasn't well thought out through. He misled the American public, and it's definitely going to be something that we keep seeing for the next few months and that keep coming up. And we're all out of time, and we're going to move on to our next segment. When we come back, Nick and I will take a look at the television ad that's stirring up some controversy.
Open End is coming up next. Don't go away.
I wanna go crazy, you can go crazy too. I wanna go crazy with you. Everybody say whoa.
I'm Russell Oliver.
I'm Maddie Olaskevich.
I'm Irfan Urazi.
And I'm Alex Resnick.
And this is Citrus TV News.
We are one tonight, and we're breathing in the same air. So turn up the love.
I'm Amanda Harry. I'm Rachel Wallspeed.
I'm Chris Womack.
And I'm Anna Giles.
And this is Citrus TV.
Welcome back. A national commercial is causing some controversy regarding Uncle Sam's role in Obamacare.
The commercial is interesting, to say the least. Take a look.
Oh, I see you chose to sign up for Obamacare.
Yeah, it's actually my first time here.
Well, here we are then. Change it to a gown, and the doctor will see you soon.
Okay, well, your vitals look good. Any changes in your diet or exercise? All right, can you swing on over, scoot on down, and try to make yourself comfortable? Okay, let's have a look.
Well, that is an interesting commercial, to say the least.
Yeah, Nick, especially because it is Uncle Sam is portraying a gynecologist. It gives you butterflies in your stomach.
It was weird to watch that.
And while it is weird, Nick, does it have a point?
I don't know. I mean, this is just, a lot of these games are being played, between parties about Obamacare. And, the facts are facts. It's a law. It's been passed by both houses of Congress. It's been approved as constitutional by the Supreme Court. It's really just elect a Republican president, and then you can change the law. That's how it's going to happen. So
usually these types of ads come out before a law is passed, but it's interesting to see
they keep on harping on it, and it's weird. It's coming down to just weird commercials. So
I think it's stopped in circulation, which is a good thing. It's a bit creepy to keep going.
Hopefully it can get off the air as soon as possible. So,
exactly. Well, that about wraps us up for this edition of Talking Points. I'm Anna Giles.
And I'm Nick Cardona. We hope to see you back here next week for more Talking Points on all things political. And remember, if it's Sunday on the Hill, it's Talking Points.